as our committee has done its work over the last 9 months, one area that we've obviously been focused on is the U.S. business relationship with China, and the fact that we have the two largest economies in the world and that we're intertwined economically at almost every level and every sector in our economy. But we've also tried to drill down a little bit on, that relationship. And I think one inflection point that we've focused on is when we allowed China into the World Trade Organization roughly 20 years ago, and the expectations of what we thought would happen there. And as we look at many U.S. multinational corporations and many private equity groups, we look at and we hear about, has China progressed or regressed, and what have they been able to do in terms of that business climate, and trying to evaluate that on whether they've gone forward or backwards on that. And we also hear a lot about, well, that's the price of doing business in China, of being in bed with the CCP over the last 20, 30, 40 years. And that many of these corporations and companies, they look the other way when it comes to human rights, IP theft, the fact that China is a surveillance state and has doubled down on that, and the lack of a free press. And there's lots of other things. But I guess, Mr. Clayton, as you look at the last 20 years and we think about how China has or has not liberalized their economy, modernized, put in more transparency, and can you evaluate the pros and cons on whether the status and the narrative of how China has gotten better or worse?
It's a great question, because we shouldn't forget how we got here, right? Deeply interconnected, large amounts of cross-border investment and the like, and a level of interconnection that, for all the reasons we discussed, makes us uncomfortable. 20 years ago, we believed that with investment, with economic integration, would come those principles that we discussed of transparency, accountability, rule of law, financial stability, that type of economic regulation overlay in the Chinese economy would come to China. It has happened in the past. Other countries that have emerged and have grown have adopted that approach to international financial integration. That bet didn't pay off. That's the simple way to say it, is that level of transparency, accountability, commitment to financial stability did not emerge.